There is a prophet whose name appears in the Quran, yet almost every detail people commonly ask about him remains unspoken. The Quran does not tell us the name of his city. It does not describe his home. It does not give us a list of the people who followed him. It does not narrate a public confrontation, a journey across a desert, or a dramatic escape. Instead, the Quran gives us a few qualities: truthfulness, prophethood, patience, righteousness, mercy, and a high station. Can a few verses reveal the shape of an entire life? Welcome to the Guided Hour, where every journey carries a story and every story carries guidance. Today, we journey through what the Quran truly tells us about Prophet Idris, peace be upon him. His story begins for us not with a location, but with a command to remember. In Surah Maryam, Allah directs the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, to mention Idris in the book. Then comes a description that is brief enough to pass quickly beneath the eyes, but deep enough to occupy the heart for a lifetime. Idris was profoundly truthful, and he was a prophet. These are not decorative words. The Quran does not offer empty praise. When revelation describes a person, every description carries weight. Prophet Idris was not merely someone who occasionally told the truth. The Arabic description points toward a person deeply established in truthfulness. Truth was not only something he spoke, it had become part of who he was. His words, his commitments, his worship, and his relationship with revelation were shaped by truth. We are not given an ancient scene in which he proves this quality. We are not told the name of a ruler before whom he spoke, the words of an opponent who challenged him, or the moment at which he was forced to choose between comfort and honesty. We must not invent such a scene, but the absence of a narrated confrontation does not make the description smaller. It makes us look more closely at the quality itself. What does it mean for a human being to become known before Allah as a person of truth? It begins with words, but it cannot end there. A person can say something technically accurate while intending to deceive. A person can hide the most important part of a story while defending every individual sentence. A person can make a promise while already planning an excuse. Truthfulness reaches beneath the sentence. It reaches intention. It reaches reliability. It reaches the agreement between what a person claims and what that person actually does. Imagine a child who breaks something in the house. Nobody saw it happen. There is enough time to move the object, leave the room, and allow someone else to be blamed. The greatest part of that moment may not be the broken object. It may be the invisible decision forming inside the child. Will the child protect an image of innocence or protect the truth? Now imagine an employee preparing a report. One number makes the results look stronger than they really are. The difference may not attract attention. Correcting it may create difficult questions. Leaving it untouched may lead to praise. The decision is no longer only about a number. It is about the kind of person being formed by the decision. Imagine a parent who promises, "I will make time for you." Imagine a friend who says, "You can trust me." Imagine a leader who announces, "I will take responsibility." Every promise creates a meeting between speech and action. Truthfulness is what happens when they meet. The Quran places this quality beside prophethood in its description of Idris. He was a man of profound truth, and he was a prophet. A prophet receives revelation from Allah. A prophet must convey what is true, uphold what is true, and remain trustworthy in carrying what has been entrusted to him. This does not mean that every truthful person becomes a prophet. Prophethood is chosen by Allah. But the description shows us that truthfulness belongs at the center of prophetic character. A person cannot faithfully carry guidance while treating truth as something flexible. A person cannot guide others toward Allah while building a life upon deception. A person cannot protect a divine trust while becoming careless with ordinary trusts. That is why small acts of honesty matter. They may feel unrelated to religion, returning extra change, correcting a misunderstanding that benefits us, admitting that we have forgotten, acknowledging that an idea came from someone else, saying, "I do not know," saying, "I was wrong," saying, "I cannot confirm that." These sentences can feel uncomfortable because they make us appear limited. But pretending to know does not remove the limitation. It only adds falsehood to it. The story of Prophet Idris requires this very kind of honesty from anyone who tells it. People naturally want more details. Where did he live? When was he born? Who were his people? What work did he perform? Was he the first person to write? Did he introduce particular crafts? Did he study the movement of the stars? Was he raised physically while alive? How did he die? Questions invite answers, and when verified answers are scarce, stories rush to fill the space. A confident voice may repeat something written centuries later. A short video may turn a disputed report into a dramatic fact. An illustration may add buildings, clothing, tools, and places that no reliable source establishes. After enough repetition, an uncertain story begins to feel familiar, and familiarity begins to feel like proof, but they are not the same. Sometimes honoring a prophet means refusing to place words, actions, inventions, or experiences into his life without evidence. Sometimes love is expressed through restraint. Sometimes the truthful storyteller must say, "The revelation does not tell us." That answer may sound smaller than a legend, but it is safer, and truth does not become less beautiful because it is brief. The Quran continues its description of Prophet Idris with another remarkable statement. Allah raised him to a high station. The verse is concise. It does not explain every dimension of this elevation. Classical commentators discussed whether it refers to elevated honor, an actual place in the heavens, paradise, or meanings that may be connected. An authenticated narration gives us an important event. During Al-Isra wal-Miraj, the night journey and ascension, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was taken through the heavens. In the first heaven, he met Prophet Adam. In the second, he met Prophet Isa and Prophet Yahya. In the third, he met Prophet Yusuf. Then he ascended to the fourth heaven. There he met Prophet Idris. The narration does not give us a description of Prophet Idris. It does not tell us what he wore. It does not describe his face. It does not give us a long conversation. Prophet Muhammad greeted him, and Prophet Idris welcomed him as a brother and a prophet. That is what the authenticated report gives us: a meeting, a greeting, recognition between two prophets from different periods of human history, and the location of that meeting in the fourth heaven. There is something quietly moving about this moment. Prophet Idris is not forgotten. Human beings may possess few surviving details about his earthly life, yet the final messenger met him above the earth. Generations had passed, languages had changed, nations had risen and fallen. Countless names once celebrated by people had disappeared, but the truthful prophet remained honored. The world often teaches us to connect importance with visibility. The most valuable work must be the work that is widely noticed. The most successful person must be the person everyone recognizes. The strongest message must be the one repeated most loudly. The most meaningful life must leave behind the greatest number of public details. But Prophet Idris challenges that assumption without needing a long biography. The Quran preserves his name, it preserves his truthfulness, it preserves his prophethood. It preserves his patience and righteousness, and it preserves the declaration that he was raised to a high station. Perhaps people do not need to know every event in a life for that life to be complete before Allah. Perhaps public memory and divine honor are not measured by the same scale. In another passage, Surah Al-Anbiya names Idris beside Prophet Ismail and Dhul-Kifl. Allah describes all of them as being among the steadfast. Then the passage says that they were admitted into divine mercy and were among the righteous. Truthfulness is now joined by patience. Patience is joined by righteousness. Righteousness is joined by mercy. These qualities do not appear as disconnected labels. Together, they allow us to see the outline of a life even when most of its events are hidden from us. Patience is often misunderstood as doing nothing while waiting for a problem to disappear. But the patience praised in Revelation is active. It is the strength to remain obedient when obedience becomes difficult. It is the discipline to avoid wrongdoing when wrongdoing appears easier. It is the willingness to continue a responsibility when excitement has disappeared. It is the ability to carry truth without reshaping it for convenience. A person may tell the truth once because courage rises in a single moment. To remain truthful over years requires patience. A person may perform one act of worship during a moment of inspiration. To continue worship through tiredness, distraction, disappointment, and changing circumstances requires patience. A person may begin a good project with enthusiasm. To complete it carefully, correct its mistakes, and preserve its purpose requires patience. A person may apologize once. To rebuild damaged trust through consistent behavior requires patience. The Quran does not tell us the particular tests through which Prophet Idris demonstrated steadfastness. We cannot name them, but Allah names the quality. That is enough for us to know that his truthfulness was not temporary. His righteousness was not an image maintained only during comfortable moments. There was perseverance within it. Think about the forms patience takes inside an ordinary home. A parent repeats the same guidance without humiliating the child. A child continues learning something difficult without declaring, "I will never understand." A family member controls an angry response even though the response feels deserved. Someone quietly repairs a mistake instead of defending it. Someone returns to prayer after a period of weakness. Someone asks forgiveness again. Someone refuses to allow one failure to become a permanent identity. These moments rarely look dramatic. There may be no audience, no one may record them, yet a life is built from such decisions. Stone by stone, promise by promise, prayer by prayer, truth by truth. The passage does not say only that Idris was patient. It places him among the righteous and within divine mercy. Righteousness is not flawless self-presentation. A righteous person remains a human being, dependent upon guidance, forgiveness, and mercy. The verse directs attention toward Allah's mercy, not toward human independence. Prophet Idris was honored, but his honor remained a gift from Allah. He was steadfast, but he was admitted into mercy. He was righteous, but righteousness did not make him independent of his Creator. This protects us from a dangerous misunderstanding. When people begin improving themselves, they may begin admiring themselves. A person becomes more disciplined and starts looking down upon those who struggle. A person gains knowledge and becomes impatient with those who are learning. A person avoids one sin and begins treating other people as if their failures define their entire worth. But righteousness without humility becomes a new test. The Quranic portrait keeps the relationship clear. The servant strives, Allah guides. The servant remains patient. Allah admits the servant into mercy. The servant acts righteously. Allah grants the honor. If this journey is helping you understand the story in a new way, take a moment to like this episode, subscribe to the Guided Hour, and share it with someone who may benefit. Your support helps more families discover thoughtful and reliable Islamic storytelling. Now let us return to what the limited details about Prophet Idris ask of us. We live in an age overflowing with information. A question enters a search box and thousands of answers appear. A video speaks with confidence. A generated image gives uncertain history a realistic face. An artificial intelligence system can arrange incomplete information into language that sounds polished and complete. But confidence is not authentication. Detail is not evidence. And a beautiful story is not automatically a true story. This matters especially when speaking about prophets. Prophets are not fictional characters available for creative expansion. We do not invent their private thoughts. We do not create dialogue for them because a scene feels empty. We do not assign them emotional reactions that revelation does not establish. We do not turn disputed reports into facts merely because they produce stronger drama. The more sacred the subject, the greater the responsibility. Several popular accounts connect Prophet Idris with writing, sewing, calculation, or the study of the stars. Some of these associations appear in later commentary and historical literature. There is an authenticated hadith mentioning that one prophet drew or wrote lines, but the authenticated wording does not name that prophet as Idris. That distinction matters. The hadith itself is authentic. Identifying the unnamed prophet as Idris is a separate claim. We cannot move the certainty of the hadith onto a name that the hadith does not provide. Therefore, we do not say as an established fact that Prophet Idris was the first person to write. We do not say as an established fact that he invented sewing. We do not build an episode around ancient astronomy. We do not describe a workshop, a school, an observatory, or a city for which we possess no verified account. I cannot confirm this is not a failure of storytelling. It is part of truthful storytelling. And in an episode about a prophet described by truthfulness, accuracy is not only a research requirement. It belongs to the meaning of the story. This principle reaches far beyond religious history. A rumor about another person may contain one verified detail surrounded by assumptions. A workplace report may contain accurate numbers arranged to suggest an inaccurate conclusion. A social media post may quote a real source but remove the sentence that changes its meaning. A family disagreement may be retold with every mistake of one person remembered and every mistake of the other forgotten. Truth can be damaged without a single completely invented sentence. That is why profound truthfulness requires more than avoiding obvious lies. It requires fairness, context, humility, accuracy, and the courage to leave a blank space blank when we do not possess the answer. Consider again the way the Quran introduces Idris. It does not apologize for the brevity. It does not treat the missing biography as a problem. It directs us toward what matters. He was truthful. He was a prophet. He was raised to a high station. He was steadfast. He was among the righteous. He was admitted into mercy. Perhaps we have been trained to ask the wrong first question. We ask, what remarkable things did he invent? The Quran directs us toward, what kind of person was he? We ask, where did he live? The Quran directs us toward, what qualities defined his life? We ask, what made people remember him? The Quran directs us toward the honor granted by Allah. We ask for details that satisfy curiosity. Revelation gives descriptions that guide character. This does not mean historical questions are unimportant. Careful scholarship matters, language matters, chronology matters, the evaluation of reports matters, but curiosity must remain a servant of truth. It cannot become permission to invent. And uncertainty must not be treated as an empty space that anyone may fill. There is dignity in knowing the limits of our knowledge. The child who says, "I do not know, but I can check," is protecting trust. The teacher who corrects a previous statement is protecting knowledge. The parent who admits a mistake is teaching more than a parent who pretends never to make one. The leader who changes a decision after receiving better evidence may appear less certain, but can become more trustworthy. The believer who refuses to speak about Allah without knowledge is not weakening faith. That believer is honoring the truth. Now return to the image of the fourth heaven, not as a visual depiction, because the unseen cannot be responsibly reconstructed by our imagination. Return only to what the authenticated narration establishes. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, ascends. At each heaven, permission is requested. He meets prophets who came before him. Then, in the fourth heaven, he meets Idris. The greeting is exchanged. Prophet Idris welcomes him as a brother and a prophet. Brotherhood between prophets does not require that they lived in the same century. Their messages came through different circumstances, but their source was one. They called humanity toward worship of Allah. They carried revelation as a trust. They demonstrated obedience within the tests of their own peoples and periods. The final messenger's meeting with earlier prophets gathers human history into one journey. Adam, Isa, Yahya, Yusuf, Idris, Harun, Musa, Ibrahim, peace be upon them all. Different stories. Different peoples, one tradition of guidance. Prophet Idris appears within that great gathering not because later storytellers supplied him with an elaborate legend, but because Allah chose him as a prophet. His honor does not depend upon our ability to reconstruct his biography. His station does not depend upon how many details survived in human books. He was known before humanity knew how to tell his story. He was honored even when much of his earthly history remained hidden from later generations. There is comfort here for anyone performing good work that feels unnoticed. A person may care for an elderly relative every day, while few people understand the exhaustion involved. A student may study honestly, while others take shortcuts and receive higher scores. An employee may correct an error that no manager would have discovered. A young person may leave a harmful conversation without announcing the decision. A parent may make dua in the quiet part of the night for a child who does not know. Someone may resist returning to a sin that once controlled years of life. Someone may forgive without receiving an apology. Someone may give without attaching a name. These actions should not be romanticized as easy. Quiet goodness can be difficult precisely because it is quiet. There is little praise to strengthen it. There is no public identity to protect. The person must continue because the action is right and because Allah knows. That is where truthfulness and patience meet. Truthfulness answers, "What is right?" Patience answers, "Will you remain with it?" The Quran's description of Prophet Idris does not promise that every righteous person will receive visible elevation in this life. We should not turn the verse into a formula for worldly success. A truthful person may lose an opportunity. A patient person may continue experiencing difficulty. A righteous person may be misunderstood. Prophets themselves faced rejection and hardship. The high station granted by Allah cannot be reduced to wealth, fame, authority, or ease. Divine honor is greater than public status. This changes how we measure a life. A person may have a high title and a damaged character. Another may possess no title and carry remarkable integrity. A person may have millions of followers and leave people confused. Another may guide one child toward truth and never know how far that guidance travels. A person may control an organization but not control anger. Another may possess little power but repeatedly choose mercy. The world displays one ranking. The Quran teaches us to seek another. When the Quran says that Prophet Idris was raised to a high station, we affirm the words of revelation. We also respect the boundary of what has been explained. The authentic narration confirms the meeting in the fourth heaven. Classical scholars offered interpretations concerning the verse, but we do not pretend to know every detail of how, when, or in what complete sense the elevation occurred. Allah knows what we do not know, and that sentence is not an ending to thought. It is the beginning of humility. The story of Prophet Idris is therefore also a story about how we receive revelation. Do we approach it demanding entertainment, or do we allow its chosen words to direct our attention? Do we measure a story by the number of scenes it gives us, or by the guidance contained within what it chooses to preserve? Do we fill silence with speculation, or do we listen carefully to the few qualities spoken? Truthfulness, prophethood, patience, righteousness, mercy, elevation. These are not fragments of an incomplete